Well, hello, folks. This is the Sangha Sunday UK call. I think it's the 29th of March today. So March is marching right along. It's almost to an end. And today we're going to be talking about something that we talk about really often, but today we're going to have a new twist to it. And that is talking about the Four Noble Truths, especially the second noble truth. Now, when I first got started in Buddhism, I remember, in fact, the first talk that I gave in front of Bhikkhu Buddhadasa, that I defined the second noble truth as greed, ill will, and delusion, which in the Pali is moho, lobha, and dosa. And that's the traditional one, and it's been used for centuries. But I just did some research, was actually reading Sutta number 44, and came to find a different definition of the second noble truth, and then did further research to find out that it's in the Dhammacakka Sutta, that in fact in all of the suttas, it has a different set of definitions for the second noble truth. And then I located that greed, ill will, and delusion, actually that definition comes from, anybody got a guess where that comes from? If it's not in the sutras, where did it come from?
Visuddhimagga.
Comes from the Abhidhamma.
Abhidhamma, okay.
Okay, yes, the Abhidhamma is a little bit earlier than the Visuddhimagga. So I will start off with it saying it this way. Number one is that is the common definition. Number two, it's not wrong. Number three is actually quite useful. I might even go so far as to say, number four, this may be the only reason that I can think of not to burn the Abhidhamma. Little jokey there. I couldn't possibly gather up all the copies of the Abhidhamma to burn it. I don't even have a copy here on the porch to burn. So this is the point. All right. And not only that, but I'll go one step further to really spice this thing up and say that Bhikkhu Buddhadasa actually has a different definition of the second noble truth. And then, to spice things up even more, the Mahayana has yet another definition. And remember, I haven't given the definition of what's actually in the sutras yet. But what the Mahayana say is that the cause of dukkha, and that's what the second noble truth is, the actual cause of dukkha, they say, is attachment. And for, many years, I will giggle and smirk and say, no, that's not it. Lobha moho dosa. Now I come to find out that actually the Mahayana version of attachment is actually pretty close to the sutras. And just like in the Abhidhamma version of Lobha Moha Dosa 3, in the suttas, there's also 3. And that there is quite a lot of correspondence between the 3 of them. The 3 in the Abhidhamma and the 3 in the suttas. So let's give a definition now. Put on your Pali hats, and we'll look at the Pali. The first of the 3 is called kama tanha. Kama in this way is not the typical use of karma, but actually it does have a lot to do with action. It also has a lot to do with the Pali word rupa, in the sense that the word tanha, by the way, actually translate directly to the word thirst. Now, Bhikkhu Buddhadasa has a book that he talks about hunger and happiness, and he's using the word hunger in that book rather than thirst. But I think that that's actually a Western translator that used the word hunger, and the Bhikkhu Buddhadasa is actually referring to the Pali of tanha. Now, those of you who have been on these calls a lot know from the talks that we've given in Paticca or dependent origination that tanha is a major point. In the Paticca, it comes from making shit up, the story that we made up, into that story contacts us. That story that contacts us gives rise to feeling, 3 kinds of feeling. And from feeling goes to tanha. Now, what I'm mentioning here is that one of the mistakes that I was making was thinking that greed, ill will, and delusion are actually associated with 3 kinds of feeling. But in the actual text, it goes one step further. It's not the feeling that causes suffering. It's not, I don't like it. It's that I want to do something about it. The distinction is the difference between an actual feeling of liking, not liking, or unsure, that liking turns into wanting. Now, you've heard me say before that dukkha, one of the classic definitions of dukkha, is wanting something you don't have. That's it right there. One of the classic definitions of dukkha is wanting something you don't have. And now we have a full definition of tanha, which is basically wanting something. Now, kama tanha actually refers to, guess what, Ivan? The senses. That's where the 5 aggregates come in. Okay? We see something, we like it, we want it. There, Geraldine is walking down the street, looking in the stores. She passes a dress shop and she sees a purse. And now she wants that purse. Seeing the purse and liking the purse is no problem. But now she wants the purse. That's the thirst, the wanting, the desire for the purse. So we also do that with music, or do it with sound. We want to hear what's going on. Hello, Karwan. Glad you joined. I need you today. I'll talk to you later. So hang in there for us. This tanha, then, is the main issue, but it's not the only kind of tanha, which has to do with wanting things visually, with sound, taste, touch, touchy-feely kinds of stuff. But there's 2 other kinds. One is called bhava tanha, and we all know what the word bhava means. So bhava actually means to become. And then the third one, and I'll introduce these 2 together because they're twins, and that is the bhava tanha. One of them is I want to become something, and the other one is I want to stop being something, or I want something to end. So we can say then that vibhanga tanha is actually the same thing as ill will. Very closely related. So closely related, we don't have to make a distinction other than the ill will or the dosa is not in the Pali. That in fact, when I say not in the Pali, what I'm actually mean is it's not in the early suttas. And the two suttas that I know for sure, where kama tanha, bhava tanha, and vibhaga tanha are used, is in sutta number 44, where Dhammadina is giving instructions about the Dhamma to her ex-husband, and is also, surprise, surprise, in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the first sutta that the Buddha gave. He defined the second noble truth, the cause of suffering, as tanha of three kinds: kama tanha, bhava tanha, and vibhava tanha. Now, I want to point out that we can think of vibhaga tanha as wanting to fix the past, a broken past. You heard something on the video and you didn't like it, and now you remember it and you want to fix it. An example of that is you heard that Donald Trump bombed Iran. And then Iran closed the Straits of Hormuz. And nobody likes that. There's our Vibhaga Tanha right there. Don't like it. Don't like that Trump bombed, and don't like it that the straits closed. How many of you have that? We're going to have some liars here, or we're going to have some agreement. Everybody don't like Donald Trump bombing Iran. In fact, just today in the United States, there were 7 million people out on the streets in a protest of no king protest. So we know that it's a big deal. Nobody likes that Trump bombed Iran. Even the Prince of Saudi Arabia didn't like it happen. He knows how to use it, though. So that's what we mean then, is things happen and we don't like it, and we want to either fix it or get away from it to escape. That in fact, Vibhaga Tanha would be the reason why people who do commit suicide is because they want out. They do not want to deal with their not liking. Now, the other way of looking at it is then that bhava contact is becoming something. Like, I want to become enlightened. Or I want to practice Dhamma, and then I don't. Or I want to get rid of Donald Trump. See how close Vibhaga Tanha and Bhava Tanha are closely related, just like greed and ill will. Wanting to get rid of something is the same thing almost as wanting to not like it. And so we can also then say that this Bhava contact is very, very much like attachments to the future. I want to become something. I want to become king. I want to become president. I want to become a gas station attendant. Some people have that want to. So we have these three kinds of wanting, and that in a way we could also say then that ignorance, which is part of the the Abhidhamma's version, is built into all three of them. Because when we want something, we don't know about the wanting and how painful wanting something is and not getting it. So let me give you this example. The word tanha actually means thirst. Imagine that you're sitting here at your desk and you get thirsty because you've been talking so long, and all we have to do is to take a drink. So I was thirsty. I wanted something to drink, and I took a drink. Easy peasy. Now, let's pretend that I'm out in the middle of the Sahara Desert with an empty canteen, and I get thirsty, and there's nothing to drink. And my thirst then gets ferocious. Mostly the ferocious part of it is now mental. The thirst is just thirst. Wanting something that I don't have, that's the mental part of it, is that the thirst gets bigger simply because the mind wants it now more than the body wants the water. Now, to introduce something about that a little bit more, the Buddha talks about two kinds of darts. In some of the sutras, it's translated as arrows, two arrows. Now, there is physical pain. And let's talk about two different kinds of physical pain. Physical pain that is induced, that is somewhat in our control, let's say stupidity, like riding a skateboard down a steep hill, and then we crash, and now we're in pain. And the best thing to say about that, don't ride a skateboard down a steep hill. Or if you do, at least have rusty wheels. But there's another kind of physical pain, and that is the physical pain that's associated with accidents that we had no control over, old age, sickness, and dying. These are pains, or let us call them sensations in honor of Goenka. These are bodily sensations that we really can't do anything about, except just simply hate them and not like them. So, the actual physical sensation that is in the body is one kind of dart. The body is in pain. But the second dart is, I don't like it. So, which is better, Jonas? To only have to deal with the body's pain, or also deal with the frustration of not liking it and wanting to get rid of it, and you can't get rid of it? Wanting something, you want the body to feel good, and you can't change it. So isn't that second dart actually as painful or more painful than the body itself?
Oh, for sure. It's enough to only handle the first arrow. No need for the second arrow.
Right. No need for that second arrow. And yet our society teaches us to do that. Mommies teach that to their daughters. Mommies teach that to their sons. Dads do it too, in the sense of buck up, which means stop crying, stop sniveling, but continue to hurt. Rather than teaching the child, that's just a boo-boo. Don't worry about it. You can handle it. All
Can I ask,
bodies have pains. Yes, go ahead.
like relating to what you said earlier, is the second arrow actually the liking and disliking, so the tanha, or is it
Yes,
the
right.
vedana, or is it the tanha?
In this case, you could say that we want to get rid of the pain. This would be the vibhanga tanha. I want to get rid of it, and I can't get rid of it.
So, but you're saying, if I understand correctly, that the vedana is part of the first arrow, or is it the second arrow?
Well, the Vedana here is not the pain itself. The pain, actually, let's use the word sensation. The bodily sensation is just a bodily sensation. That's the first dart. The second dart is the Vedana of not liking it. And that Vedana of not liking it then grows into the tanha of wanting to get rid of it. There's a little story that I want to tell about that. In fact, I've told it so many times, but it's a really, really cute little story. The story is that Samedo, before he was an Achan, when he was still a young monk, and Achan Cha were at a ceremony. And this ceremony is called the Katen ceremony, and that's one time a year where all of the young women who are not married dress up in their finest. I won't go into all of the cultural details, but there they are. And Samedo was getting an eyeful. And so Achan Cha nudged him and says, "Well, what do you think?" And Samedo's answer was, "I like it, but I don't want it." In other words, at that point, he could see that he liked it. He could see the Vedana, but he did not allow it ignorantly to move into the tanha. And that's what we have the opportunity to do, is do not let what you call pain become mental pain. Keep it at the level of it's just a sensation in the body, or it's just something nice to look at. Just like Geraldine walking down the street and seeing that purse in the window, but she would be a whole lot better off if she doesn't want the purse, just likes it. Oh, that's a nice purse, but I've already got 4. I don't need it. Catherine, how many purses do you have?
I think none.
None.
I'm not a very girly girl, I'm afraid.
Is that
I just
enough?
use pockets.
Is none enough?
I mean, I guess I have a recycled like shopping bag that costs like $1 that I can use if I need a bag.
Okay. So
It's
is
not really
that
a
dollar
purse,
bag
though.
enough? Or do you need a Gucci?
I do not need Gucci.
All right. So, isn't it funny though that when we can see that at the level of kama tanha, that no, I don't really, Gucci's are nice, but I really don't want one. I don't need one. I don't, nothing to do with Gucci. But when the body is in pain, we want to get rid of it. We don't want the body in pain. Does the body actually do what you tell it to do? If your knee is hurting, do you tell it, "Oh, I don't want the knee to hurt," and the knee just stops hurting? Does that happen?
Nope.
Not often. Not likely. More than likely, you're going to be in pain whether you like it or not. However, there's also the induced pain, and we just had somebody asking about this. What about someone who's doing a Goenka retreat and he's sitting there and his legs start hurting? And Goenka says just to sit there, and the legs start to hurt. And the student wants that pain to go away. And Goenka thinks that he's learning something. But if that student went to a Bhikkhu Buddhadasa retreat and he's sitting there and the legs start to hurt, the instructions that he will get will be to move your legs around, stand up, walk around, and do something to eliminate the pain at a physical level. Now, which one is better Dhamma, Ivan? Doing Goenka's strong determination and just sitting there with the pain, or actually getting out of the pain, because we can move around and do something to get out of the pain.
Yeah, the second one.
Okay, all right. Well, what value then is it to sit in pain in a meditation retreat?
No pain, no gain.
Well, in a way, what you're saying then is that whatever happens, that would be considered part of the gradual path that often goes nowhere, which is the path that almost everyone is on. But the immediate path, the Buddha's path, would be, if you can do something about it, do something about it. And if you can't do anything about it, at least you can enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that you can handle it. Which brings up another point, and that is that some of you here have what is called 20/20 eyesight, 20/20 vision. And what that means is that you can see well. And if you can see well, we can gain pleasure from being able to see. This is actually the introduction into, can you look and see dukkha? Because if you can see dukkha, isn't that the same as having the pleasure of having good eyesight? Does anybody here want to be blind? Nobody wants to be blind. Everybody wants to be able to see well. But can we see dukkha well? If we can see dukkha well, then we should congratulate ourselves to be able to see the dukkha. And in fact, that's not the way that almost all of us work. We have been trained that when we see something like dukkha, we see some dissatisfaction, then guess what? We want to get rid of it. There goes that vibhanga tanha up. We want to get rid of it. But if we are wise, we can see that dukkha with the statement that the Buddha would use was, aha, I see you. I can see. Isn't that marvelous? I can see the things that I used to not be able to see. So in that regard, we can say that this deeper understanding of the second noble truth is that there is this idea of becoming something that you're not. Like a lot of people, they want to become rich. They want to become wealthy. And they don't become wealthy simply because they want to become wealthy. What does that lead to? Timo, if you want to be rich and you're not rich, what do we call that?
Dukkha.
Dukkha. Exactly. It's dissatisfying. But if we don't want anything, that means that we can be comfortable and happy. We can be satisfied right then and there. And that quality of right then and there is actually the teaching of the Buddha, is to eliminate any discomforts that you can right now, rather than sitting in pain and wanting it to be different, or sitting in desire, wanting to be rich, wanting that Geraldine's new purse, wanting whatever it is, and not getting it. So, this is the actual definition of the second noble truth of what is the source of dukkha is wanting, thirst, wanting to have sensual pleasure, wanting to become something that we're something, wanting to get rid of something is actually quite primary. We have all been taught that it's our job, it's our responsibility to fix the world. It's broken. All you have to do is just look and see how broken the world is. Right? Is the world broken? Catherine, is the world broken?
I mean, it's not ideal.
Well, okay, it doesn't match up to your standards then. All right. Do you want it to match up to your standards?
I guess, yeah, I can think of ways that would be fairer and better for people that are suffering, yeah.
All
I
right.
wish it would change.
Just because you want it, are you going to get it?
Oh, absolutely not.
All right. So that means when you want the world to be fixed according to your style, that means that you're being dissatisfied and you're not going to get what you want. You want the world to be according to Catherine. But if you're dissatisfied with the way the world is right now, then there's no problem. There's no dukkha. So this is what we really are going for, is that the cause of suffering is wanting stuff we cannot have. And you can't change the world. You cannot rig an election. You cannot take all the money out of the Bank of America. You just can't do it. And if you want to, you're dissatisfied. And if you're okay that Bank of America has got its money and that you're all right, no problem, then this is the teaching of the Buddha, is to become satisfied. The same thing is true with enlightenment. If you're already okay, if you feel good, if you don't want anything and you're satisfied, then that's all there is to it. But what happens if you want to become enlightened? Caleb, what happens when you want to become enlightened?
You suffer.
Yes, suffer. That's right. Or at least it's unpleasant because you want something you don't have. But if you don't want anything, that means that you're not carrying around any desires. And so, in fact, not wanting anything and being satisfied with the way things are, that's an enlightenment all by itself, isn't it? I was hoping Caleb would give me an answer. So let me repeat that, Caleb. And that is that if you're already satisfied and you're not carrying around that desire for enlightenment, isn't that by itself a kind of enlightenment? In fact,
Yeah.
it's the better kind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have now two with a third complete definitions of the second noble truth. The first definition comes out of the Abhidhamma, doesn't come out of the sutras. Moha, lobha, dosa. Desire, mostly the greed, is thought of then as kama tanha. And the second one, dosa, no, moho, no, dosa, is the same as vibhanga tanha. But all of them have ignorance. And so the greed and ill will are actually just two forms of wanting something you don't have, but you don't know how painful wanting something you don't have is until you have good eyesight to begin to see. If you want something, that's painful. And if you don't want anything, that's really nice. So there is a direct connection between the two of them. Now let's add the third, which would be the Mahayana, which they use the word attachment. Now, the word attachment actually is closer to the word in Pali of upadana, the actual clinging. So you could say that if you like this hand likes this hand, all right? This hand likes this hand, okay. But if he likes it, he's going to go to it. So that going to it is the tanha. And then grasping it, attaching to it, that's upadana, and it's even heavier. And most people then think that that's where the dukkha starts. It starts not with going towards something, but it's actually attaching to it. But the Buddha was very clear about this, is that it's the actual going to it is the, actually we use the word Baba in particular, that Baba is going, it's taking direction. It's actually an energetic, or it's a desire. And so in a way, the word attachment is not the correct way. It's actually the wanting, not the gotta have it. There's a difference. In fact, in English, we can use this. I want it, and then I need it. And needing it is a whole lot stronger than just merely wanting it. Well, if you need something you don't have, isn't that dukkha? Dan is needing something you don't have. That's dukkha, right? I see your microphone is turned on, but I don't hear you. So how about you, Paul? If you need something, huh? If you need something and you don't have it, isn't that dukkha?
Yes.
Well, how about just wanting it?
Yes.
Yes, they're both dukkha, but one is a bigger kind of dukkha than the other. And so just wanting it. All right. Now, let's add Bhikkhu Buddhadasa's point, because this is where it really becomes most useful for us. And that is that in the Paticca Samuppada, it goes in the sequence of the telling the story that we tell contacts us. We have feelings about it. The feelings give us this want, and the want then, because we don't get it, grows into a need. And then the becoming. This is the standard system. But Bhikkhu Buddhadasa short circuits that. And he says, oh no, the vibhanga, or the becoming, starts with the tanha, not after the upadana. It starts immediately. Then in fact, the not only does the tanha start the becoming, it also is the self. In other words, and I'll ask it like this: if the want, and I'll ask it this way, if the want is there, who wants it? Amrit, if the want is there, who wants it?
Is the self.
The self wants it. Exactly. So the
So question,
wanting.
Dhammarato.
Go ahead.
So one question. So is the self comes before wanting, or the wanting comes before self, or they comes together?
Let us say that the self is a potential, but it
Hmm.
actually becomes with the tanha.
Okay.
It actually comes with the tanha. When the wanting is there, the one who wants it becomes. And when it's full-blown upadana, that's the full-blown self. And the full-blown self is already then in the woeful state. And we'll talk about the woeful states in a moment, but let's make sure that we understand that we can say that upadana is the woeful state that the self lands in, but the tanha is the direction of going. All right. So let us say that there's a cliff right in front of you, and that you start walking towards that cliff. If you continue to walk towards that cliff, then you're going to go over the side of that cliff. If you can stop that before you go over the side, this is why, and in fact, this is the way that most people do it. Well, let me revise that just a little bit. let us say that two people who are absolutely ignorant of the Dhamma will eventually stop fighting with each other. They'll stop arguing. When does that argument stop? It generally stops when whether, like the husband or the wife, one of them recognizes they've gone too far. They've just gone over the edge. So the husband says something and he recognizes that he's really hurt his wife or he's really said something stupid. And so what he does to get out of that is he turns around, walks out the door, and slams it shut. This conversation is over. Why? Because he recognized that he's just gone over the edge. So let's not go over the edge. In fact, let's not even go in the direction of the edge. So this is where the self is generated. It's the approach to the edge, not actually falling over the edge. Because you have that extra time in there to stop it before you go too far. So there is let us say there's, again, degrees of dukkha there. Going towards the edge is dukkha. You wanted something and you're going towards the edge to get it. But that's not nearly as bad as going over the edge, which means going into a woeful state. So now let's talk about the four woeful states. Does anybody here, by the way, just offhand, does anybody here can name the four woeful states off the hand? Does anybody know them? Ivan, I bet you know the four woeful states.
Asura. That's all I know.
So you named the
Yeah.
Asuras. Okay, let's take it normally in the order in which they're presented. The first one is hell. When you're hot, when you're bothered, when you're trapped, when you can't get out of it. This is a state of hell. Now, we're not talking about a metaphysical hell like the Christians have, to where you might go to hell someday. That if you're in the heat of an argument, you're in hell. If Geraldine wants that purse and she's standing there at the window and looking at that purse and she really wants it, she's actually gone into the woeful state of what is called a preta, which is defined as a hungry ghost. Now, what is a hungry ghost is something that's got a great big belly and a little tiny mouth, so that we cannot put in through the mouth all the stuff that we want. This is the definition of a hungry ghost. The third one is the one that most Westerners are trapped into on a regular, if not daily basis. And that is becoming a dumb animal. Now, what we mean by a dumb animal is not just some forest creature out there in the woods. We're generally talking about domesticated work animals, like a horse that's attached to a plow, or maybe an ox that's got to pull a plow, or a horse that has to carry a human. Okay, this is the woeful state. Now, horses can be trained, dogs can be trained to do a job, and in fact, if the horse is trained correctly, he likes it. But in the beginning, horses don't want to be ridden. They don't like it. All right, so every one of you, if you've got a job and you don't like it, that means that you're a dumb animal, because you're doing something that you were told to do and you don't like doing it. We all go through that phase in the first grade. The first time we go to school, the first day may be exciting. But after the third, the fourth, or the fifth day, for the whole rest of the year, none of the kids want to be in school. The only thing that's good about school is recess, or maybe getting out of school. But very few kids actually enjoy school. And then they go for year after year after year of being told to go to school. They go to school, they don't like it. And then when they graduate, guess what? They get a job, and they go to that job and they don't like it. So this is the dumb animal. And most people are that. So if you wind up having to do something that you don't want to do, remember that that comes from some story that you told yourself that got you into that vibhanga tanha of wanting it to stop. And it doesn't stop, and you don't like it. That's where the self is. The you is the self that does not like it. In fact, it's a burden. It's the dukkha. It's completely dissatisfying. Now, the last of the four is the Asuras. Now, the Asuras are very much like the Titans in the Greek mythology, in the sense that, yeah, they're kind of gods and they're warriors, but they're afraid to go to war. They don't want to go to war. They want to get all dressed up for battle and then parade down the street. But going to actually war, nobody wants to. So, all dressed up and no place to go. That's what we do. That's the Asura, and is actually best seen as a state of trepidation, a state of fear, a state of not wanting what we're and wanting to avoid. So it's possible that a kid who is playing hooky is not only a dumb animal because he has to go to school, but now he's an Asura also because he's playing hooky because he's trying to avoid going to school. But the correct way of doing it, according to the teachings of the Buddha, is if you're going to go to school, like going to school. If you're going to do something, enjoy doing it immediately. So that means that if you're in the habit of going to do something and you don't want to do it, stop and get your mind into a really good state. Practice anapanasati. Do what we practice doing of changing the mind, getting the mind into a good state, and then go do it happily. In other words, we do not have to go through this second noble truth of the cause of dukkha if we can see the dukkha and stop it. This is the whole practice, is to look at what you're doing, because you've got a choice about the way you feel. You've got a choice about whether your your thirst is overbearing or not. You can be thirsty for something, but you can wait. Or if you got to have it, know that that's going to carry you into some woeful state of not having anything that you want, and you're miserable. So these woeful states are much heavier dukkha than the dukkha that we're talking about of the second noble truth in the sense of tanha. It's better to be wise to the tanha, but it's better than that to be wise to the feelings that give rise to the tanha. And then the next one is to stop telling ourselves stories that lead us into the feelings that bring up tanha. This is where we're really getting some places, when you're actually able to control your perception so that you can have happy, wholesome thoughts by generating them. Perceive what you'd like to perceive rather than perceiving things that go to like a story that you've been told all your life. So let's see. Richard Q, what do you think?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, I've just linked in, so I don't know what to say. I'm just listening for the moment. And
Yes, actually, I was talking about Robert Q, but I said Richard instead, so I'll
sorry.
talk to you. No, my mistake. No problem. So, welcome aboard. I'm glad that you're here, and that we've got some videos that it would be really good for you if you could watch those to get a much more clear picture. But everything that we've said today is part of the basic teaching. There's nothing here that I've said today that is over the top complicated. Does anybody here think that what we've talked about today is over the top complicated? Nobody. How about you, Karwan? Is this over the top complicated for you?
Yes. One second. Dhammarato, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, again, this is for me, in a way, sure, I understand it. If you don't like something, just like it. And then if I like it, of course, it would be better. But that's not so simple to do. I mean, for example,
Well,
I don't like
that's
my
not
job.
what I said. Let's make sure that you understand what I was saying directly. We're not talking about changing you don't like it to like it. But we're saying to change the state of mind that you're in, to set that down. Let us say that if you've got a really hot coal and you don't like carrying it, set it down. Dress your hand and become happy. And then don't pick up that coal again, or if you do, pick it up with tongs or something.
Yeah, but that is not always simple like that. For example, going to school or having a job. Some people cannot just, I will just drop my job because I don't like it. Or I will just change, I don't like it, but from tomorrow on, I will start liking my job.
Right? But I didn't say it like that. The practice is not to like a job that you don't like, but recognize that the mind is in a state of not liking it.
Mm-hmm.
The mind is already in a state of not liking it, and you're just pointing that not liking at the job and blaming the job and saying it's the job I don't like. We're not saying that at all. We're talking about the state of mind that you're in, and that you can change the state of mind that you're in. And don't go back to do that work until your mind has been changed. Because if you go back to the work that you don't like, you'll go back into this mental state of not liking it again.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I really get it.
I know.
But,
I understand. This is the practice, is to change your mind that is free. This is why we want to get off into seclusion, to get away from the jobs, to get away from school, to get away from all the things that you don't like, and sit down and look at the fact that the not liking is still in the mind. It's not the object that you don't like, it's the mind is in a state of not liking. And this is the state when you're free from the job, free from the school, free from all of those people, free from the news, and you're off into seclusion. That's when we can see that the mind is still in a state of not liking. And in fact, we'll think up all kinds of things just to justify that it's the object that I don't like, instead of recognizing that it's the state of mind that we're in that finds things to not like. So once you recognize that that's the dukkha, that you're already in a state of dissatisfaction, let's change that then to become in a state of satisfaction while you're still in seclusion. And get good at it. Get good at feeling good. Get really good at feeling good. And after you feel good, now you can go and do anything. Catherine, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I would like some advice, please. There are two ways that I can think of to practice. Like, one way might be to not watch the news and see all the, more extreme right-wing things I don't like. Maybe don't go into Gucci, see all the bags that I want. And then because I'm not exposing myself to it, I can lessen this disliking. But the other choice might be to watch the news, to go to the store, to watch my mind while I do them. Should I avoid, or should I expose myself and watch my mind?
Let us talk about it this way, and that is that it depends upon your skill level. And for those who have no skill, getting off into seclusion so that there are no Gucci bags, there is no shopping, there is no problems, there is no job, just get into seclusion. You can close the door to your bedroom and then get your mind into a happy state with things like, wow, in here in this closed room, there are no jobs. There are no alligators. There's no Gucci bags. That in fact, the whole room is completely empty of any and everything that I want. And I'm happy that that's the case. And so we work on this internal happiness to get the mind into a really nice state. This is why this practice of the Buddha is so much superior to the Mahasi method. They're just noticing how unhappy the mind is. But we're going to take the right noble effort to get that mind straightened out, to get away from it all, to be able to get the mind happy. And when the mind then is happy, according to the skill, you've got great skill. Now you can go walk by the Gucci bag because you've got the skill already to not want it. But you can't just start walking past the Gucci bags and say, I don't want it, when in fact you still want it. No, we have to get away from the Gucci bags. We have to get away from the war. We have to get away from school. We have to get away from that book. We have to get away from the job. And the great part of it is that you can escape. You are not tied to that job all the time. Some people are, because they bring the job back into their mind. So for those people, I'll say, not just get the job, get away from the job, but get the job also away from the mind, get the mind secluded. So in that regard, there are two kinds of seclusions. One is to get away from it all by getting the body into seclusion, and then get away from all the crap that you brought with you in the mind. Get away from it all, getting really away from it all, so that the only kind of thoughts you have is, well, I'm so glad I got rid of all that stuff. Well, it's really nice when I don't have any problems, no place to go, nothing to do. Everything is so great. And I can just relax and really, really relax and enjoy this moment. And practice that, and practice it more, and get good at it over and over and over. This is the practice. A lot of people think that this is meditation, but this I don't call meditation, because most people, when they meditate, they don't clean out the mind. When they go into meditation, it'll bring that class, or they'll bring that job, or they'll bring that war into the mind, and then watch their thoughts about the war. No, when we say seclusion, we're going to seclude the mind from all of that stuff, so that we can truly say, wow, this is really nice. I don't have to think about any of that stuff. And get the mind really, really peaceful, get it really satisfied, get it really soft, pleasurable. Everything is nice. And then stay there. And in fact, I would say stay there is more important than getting up from meditation and going back to work, because most people, when they get up from meditation and go back to work, they'll immediately start hating the job again. But if you have the skill, you can get up from your meditation in the sense of having the mind in a really good state, and then go do the job with the mind still in a really good state. This is why there is a little bit of gradual practice, but the important point is that it's an immediate practice, because you can get yourself into an immediately good state right here, right now, by getting away from the job, getting away from all of those thoughts. This is the practice, is to go into seclusion, to get rid of all of those unwholesome thoughts and get rid of all of those unwholesome circumstances that bring up all of those unwholesome thoughts, so that we can have some happy, wholesome, beautiful thoughts. Getting to the state of becoming satisfied, so that you can be really satisfied with your life. And if you're really satisfied with your life, then you can go back to work. But I would recommend that if you're really, really, really satisfied, why have a job? All you're doing is putting yourself back in danger of not liking the job. So this would be the ultimate, is to really get away from it all, get into seclusion, and then kind of stay there. Come stay on the porch. There's no jobs here. Come stay on the porch. There's no alligators here. Come stay on the porch. There's no books much. There's nothing to do except to be happy. And this was the job also that the Buddha gave for his followers, was the Bhikkhu Sangha. He invented the Bhikkhu Sangha so that no one had to do much of anything except sit around and feel good. And it is quite possible for people to join the monkhood and sit around and feel bad because they're not practicing. So it doesn't really matter then whether you become a monk or not. The question is can you get away from it all, so enough of it so that you can get away from the stuff that you brought with you when you got away from it all? And then you can have happy, healthy, wholesome thoughts and make a new habit of being happy. Make a new habit of being joyful. And once you get that new happiness, that new joyful going, then you can go do whatever you want to do happily, which is probably not a job. Or if you do take a job, take one that you enjoy doing. But you see, in our culture, you're not supposed to enjoy the job. You're supposed to hate it, just like you hated first grade. And so the advice that you'll hear out in the world is, why don't you go get a job that you like? The answer is that I can think about a job that I like, but if I actually take that job, when I get into that job, I won't like it because I've got the not liking already in play. I've already got that habit going. So the reality is that it's not the job, it's the mind state that we bring to the job, and it's also the mind state that we have when we leave the job, until we begin to change the mind state. This is the real practice of coming out of our unwholesome, unhappy, not liking the job or whatever it is. Does that make sense, Catherine?
I think that's just really useful. Thank you so much. I I'm not super skillful, although my life is always becoming more joyful and more free and more easy. But I have things I can work on without taking it all too seriously. Thank
Right.
you.
You can start practicing being
Yes.
happy right now. I'm okay. Everything is just fine right now. That's the practice. So, Karwan, are you clear about this? It's not the job, it's your mind state before you go into the job.
It's clear, Dhammarato. Yep. Yep.
Okay. That's really great. Giannis, what do you have to say?
Yeah, thank you for the call. I really enjoyed this one. Yeah, seclusion. It was really the missing ingredient for me. Sometimes it's like I will go like practicing without seclusion for a long time, and yeah, like I will get confused. But you know, the moment I add some seclusion, like it becomes very easy to see these things. You know, like the mental state and like how it's all about that. You know, the content starts to matter less. Yeah, thank you.
That's a really important point. The Buddha actually talks about it in a lot of different sutras that to practice correctly, you have to get away from all of the unwholesome stuff to realize that you're not away from that wholesome stuff. You brought it with you. So the real seclusion is to become secluded from your own crap. The real seclusion is to seclude yourself from your own crap. Timo, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Secluded from the hindrances by like MN19, the two kinds of thought. So in this moment, there's no hindrances. This kind of thought, there are no hindrances.
Right.
So why not
Right.
stay with this kind of thought?
Okay. How about you, Joseph Grand? What do you think? Good to see you, friend.
He cannot talk. His mic got problem.
All right. Jonas, what do you think?
Yeah, all good. Thank you for the talk. I really like the different definitions for the second noble truth. Really interesting. Quick question. Can you maybe clarify that a bit again? The difference between tanha and upadana, maybe with an example to understand
Well,
that again.
the difference would be like you go to the bathroom because you want to go to the bathroom. That would be tanha. You go to the bathroom because you want to go to the bathroom. And then the bathroom door is closed. You start banging on the door. Now you're in upadana. Okay. Or maybe worse than that, while you're banging on the door, you start peeing in your pants. Now you're in a woeful state. Does that
So that
analogy
means
help?
it sounds a bit like the upadana is like the tanha growing even bigger.
Yes. Yes, it gets bigger and bigger. And the bigger it gets, the more suffering there is, the more dukkha there is. So, Paul, what do you think?
Talk, been listening. Um, uh, really enjoyed understanding the second noble truth and the degrees of dukkha there. Thank you.
All right. So, Robert Q, what do you think? How about you, Tom? What do you think?
Thanks a lot, Dhammarato. Very brilliant teaching as always. I guess it's come at a very good time for me because I'm really struggling at the moment with insomnia, and it's one of those things where it's you can't fall asleep unless you let go. So it's a brilliant opportunity to practice the Dharma, and I am practicing. I'm trying as much as I can to practice and to apply these teachings. I guess one question. Sometimes there's almost like two forces at play. There's one which is the frustration, the when you can't fall asleep and then it gets later and later and then you catastrophize. And then there's of course the wholesome thoughts that you talk about, placing those. What do you do when, especially at like 3 a.m. in the morning, the unwholesome thoughts and the feeling is just overpowering the wholesome thoughts? Even though I'm sort of trying, I just feel overpowered by it. And
That's
then,
because you've got a rule.
yeah.
You've got a rule.
Uh-huh.
You've got an ideal. You've got a supposed to. You're supposed to go to sleep. You're supposed to. Why don't you drop that rule? Maybe you don't have to go to sleep. Maybe you can just lay in bed and enjoy the night. Relax. Wow, it's just so nice to bring up the covers and I can just lay here and think about happy thoughts. And I'm not worried about the time because I'm not on any schedule that requires sleep. That in fact, you may not be able to sleep because you don't need the sleep because you haven't done anything all day like me. Or maybe you've taken a nap and don't remember it. So if you're not sleepy, don't say, I must go to sleep, because all you're doing is creating a war inside your own mind. Instead, oh, I'm so happy I don't have to sleep right now. Oh, I'm so happy I can just lay here and feel good. Feeling good and feeling happy and having happy thoughts is actually kind of better than being asleep. And when you're asleep, what are you going to do? Have nightmares? Heavy-duty dreams? And then how can you enjoy your sleep? No, it's better just to lay there in bed and enjoy the night. So
Thank
who's
you.
left? I think we've got it. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next opportunity to try it. I know it's coming.
Right now. Here you are.
Yeah, right now, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's no plow around your neck. There are no alligators in the room right now. You're not at work. You're among friends. So why not practice right now? You're almost already in seclusion.
Right.
So did I catch everybody? Is anybody left?
Me, Dhammarato.
Yeah, Amrit, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Dhammarato. Definitely a very joyful talk. So I also quite like the advice you gave to Tom about insomnia, and sometimes also have problem sleeping. I will use that. Makes perfect sense to me. And I also would like to say I quite enjoy now. My Dhamma eyes looks to be getting better and better, and it gives me a lot of fun to just watch Mara real time and send him back. A lot of time just seeing Mara is enough. So don't need to do anything. You see it and then just go away.
All right, good one. How about you, Oz?
Yeah, thanks, Dhammarato. Nice to see that when liking and disliking comes up. It doesn't need to be followed.
Mm-hmm.
It can just be there.
Okay, so Mikey.
Hello, hello. Thank you, friends, for joining today. We'd like to point you to the Dhammarato Quotes book, which is now available on Amazon. You can get it printed or on Kindle. And I believe we have both of the books up now. Is that right, Caleb? We've got Dhammarato Quotes book 1 and 2. Yeah, Caleb's shaking his
Yes.
head, yes. So, yeah, go ahead and check those out. And we also invite you to check out Dhammarato.com, where there's just tons of transcripts of Sangha calls like this one and one-on-one calls as well, where you can read along and you can also search for keywords if there's perhaps a particular topic that you're interested in. And we also invite you to check out OpenSanghaFoundation.org, where we've got things like our Sangha map, books by Bhikkhu Buddhadasa, and talks by Ajahn Dhammavidu. If you're watching this on YouTube, come join us here on the Dhamma Friends Discord. And you can hang out anytime here in the Hangout channel. You don't have to wait for a Sangha call. And in fact, we see quite frequently throughout the week, people will just pop in here and make friends with one another and talk about the noble Buddha Dhamma. It's quite delightful to see that. You can also find these talks and more on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcasting platforms. Just search for Dhammarato Dhamma. And recently, people have been asking, where do we point newcomers? Where do we point newcomers to? There is a playlist. If you go to the home page, Dhammarato's YouTube channel, there's a playlist called Introduction to Buddha Dhamma. That's got something like 10 videos, about 10 hours or so of Buddha Dhamma with commonly asked beginner questions. But it's also quite meaty stuff. There's one video in particular that goes through the entire Anapanasati Sutta and is quite in depth. So even if you aren't new around here, I'd encourage you to check out that playlist. It might have some nice, friendly reminders. So yeah, friends, you're all welcome to stay here and hang out as Dhammarato makes his departure. Thanks again for being here today. Remember to take care and take it easy. And of course, don't worry, be happy.
Don't worry, be happy. All right, so I'm going to go now, but I invite everyone here to stay and chat with one another. We've got some good Dhamma people here. Ivan and Paul and Timo are really experienced practitioners, as well as Mikey. So stay here and ask them questions, or just chat with one another. The Sangha is most important. The Buddha said that good friends is the whole of the Dhamma. If you've got good friends, good, noble friends, that means that they're going to invite you to be happy. And your job then to take to your ordinary friends is to invite them to be happy. You don't have to teach the Dhamma to them. Just smile. Just be happy. Be happy with everybody. Practice so that you can be happy. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dhammarato.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dhammarato.
Bye.
Dhammarato.
Bye.